my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. Guess what? I'm off work today. Yeehaw. Look at those gears. Don't they look cool? Coming together. I stripped out the round ring, took off the clover, and some heavy stuff, 1/4 inch thick. There's some 1 inch, 1 and 10, 1 and 1/4. So why did I clear it out? I wanted to start from scratch because now, like I showed you guys, Ed had paper or fiberglass or whatever he had from the front, and it came out the back. So I knew these were all covered. So here from scratch, I'm able to take my bolts, put them in position, and what I'm going to do is work the wheel, pre-bolt, no bolts, nothing in there, and grab a hold of the compass. And what I want to do is work the wheel and see naturally what the wheel has for its own polarities, if any. All right, so I got everything off the wheel. All right, let's do this. Let's spin it clockwise. So right now, anything that's matter, iron, metallic, is going to want to come towards the magnets. So let's kind of like cleaning out the wheel. All right. So we know from right here we are at north. That's north written on the wall. So let's go ahead and stop it. Let's check the polarity. Well, compass has been getting beaten down. I might need to get, Santa might have to get me a new compass. Look at that. So my compass is backwards. You know why? Because the stronger magnet takes over the weaker magnet. And the compass is the weaker magnet. And obviously, it keeps changing the polarity on the compass. So I got to be careful a lot of times on what magnets I'm charging and what's going on. Let's swipe the magnet by it. Let's see if I adjust it. Sure did. Now we're magnetic north. Oh heck, my compass is whacked out. Might be because that's still here. Let's go over here. Nope, that's not north. Compass is backwards again. Alrighty, feel like I'm in the twilight zone. In the twilight, so if this says south, we know that's north. So let's put it on the box. Let's swipe it. Put that back up here. And let's see what we have going. It's staying magnetic north. Let's see what happens when we go in here. Now turn it around. There it is. All right, so it's magnetic north. It knows it's that way. Go away. Pointer arrow, go away, go that way. All right, so it's working. So in the center here, we're showing the north. All right, let's give it a spin. Put this in the middle. All right, so I know that that's facing north. If I put it there in the center, I'm getting the north. Let's see if it finds its way back north. I think it's the center here. I don't know what to do about that. Because we can, right? Remember we learned, let's see what pole it is. All right, so we're going regions now. We got to go to the interior. We're digging deeper. And I need to see where the North Pole is coming from, where the South Pole is showing up at. All right, so there you go. It's going to be in the neutral somewhere. So let's start from quarters. You got bolt to bolt. That's the way to do it. Have a marker here. So I'm going to start from this guy. And we're going to say that so let me check something, because I want to see if this side right there is North Pole, because all I'm doing is picking up the back end before the turn, North Pole. If that's the case, that means that there's going to be a split here. Why would there be a split? There's your North Pole. So let's think about that for a second. So the split, I mean, in Earth, I use Mother Nature a lot in thinking about this whole thing. And the split meaning like at the equator, they call it the Botch wall. And they're saying that if the top is the North Pole, that the magnets are coming out, getting halfway. The true streams are. Some are coming out and come all the way around, but they're the ones that just, or their job is to just keep the outer shell of our planet protected. But the true streams are going from the North Pole, north, south coming out, right? North Pole, south coming out. So the negative, you have to go to the bottom of the planet, because the South Pole would have north coming out. And the North Pole is always chasing south. So that means that the bottom of the planet, the streams that are extreme are coming up from the bottom to the middle of the planet where the equator is and coming back in and running around that way. There's not all what they say about corkscrew and all that. It's a donut. It's turning. The other half is coming out of the North Pole, which would be south streams, which we know are what? Receiving. So it's flowing this way. So you got to think like that, guys. I want you to open up your mind. That's here what we're seeing. So there's a Botch wall here. So in the middle of these magnets, you're having reciprocating here, there, and back again. From there to here and back again. Also, there's a stream that's running through it. So there's three things going on here that I'm going to bring to people's attention, because the one thing obviously is the most important from the dipole, which is these two guys, south and north, or vice versa, that the gap here becomes the strength there. Now, if I brought these magnets closer together, it would be stronger. I know it would be stronger. It just makes sense that you bring the dipoles together to make a stronger field. As well as Ed says, if you dampen, if you take the ends of this metal and you say, you see how it doesn't seem smaller, but from the top end, there's a dip, and on the bottom end, there's a dip. So that means this is less than this in height, okay? So I'm thinking that this has been dampened downwise. It's been heated and then quick cooled, which they call quenching, which has a lot of different meanings, especially in Tesla world, in spark gaps. But the quenching of this hardens the steel, but it makes it smaller. And you can see it gets a little smaller. You can see it gets smaller right there. There's like something going on. So there's your dampening, and that's where I was saying was that the negative is, both of these are negative. They're coming out and going straight across and around and going to the positive. And all the positive's doing is just absorbing in. It's sucking in. It's sort of like how I think our universe in the big enchilada works, where one entity is just sucking in and the other one is just extremely blowing out. Now, whether or not the sucking in causes resistance or not, I would think so, because here's the damming. So you're slowing down the capacity or the flow, we'll call it, the current coming in, because it's getting dammed up there, but it's making a high potential, I would assume. And then it's coming through, hitting the Bosch wall, and then it's got to be bouncing back, majority, and then some of it's coming across and coming out, which comes around. Then you're going to have your streams always coming in on the south and always going out in the north. So there's something going on with the whole Earth, with the equator, and how you have your outer ring, and then you have a lot of close rings. And the close rings, majority, I would think that most of the energy stays from its pole out, comes to the equator, comes back around. So it's like two donuts. You can almost look at it too as two cones facing each other, and the cones are pushed together inside each other. So the two fat ends are on the outside of the cone and the two pointy ends are in each other. And that's how it would be, because the equator is that tension there, that place of resistance, almost, I would have to say. But anyway, you guys, getting busy again. I just wanted to post this up for you and let you know that we're moving along. So I feel comfortable with the wheel and how everything is set. So the next thing here is I took the wire out. I figured out that it was being pinched and it allowed some continuity connections between as well, so it's gone. Right now we know the magnets are 100% on their own. It's just there's no electrical that can get to them and ruin them, because that's what it does. You can't mix them at all. They don't mix good at all. So from here we'll be putting the ring on and leaving a gap. Now remember, this upper gear ring and this lower gear ring and the whole flywheel base and these bolts, but these are wrapped in cool ass water tubing plastic, so there's no connection between here. So I got these isolated, and then I have a lot of rubber top and bottom, and the rubber extends out. So this ring sits on the rubber, so it's not touching. And why is that important? The details will be in the reason why we want to have this isolated, which would be that becomes polarized, and we're taking a beginning start of a wheel, and we have a center. The center is a place of neutrals. The neutrals is a place to where anybody can come in there, but they can't own it. All right, so what do I mean by that? To where you can introduce different poles pulsed in the center, and what you're going to have is if you're turning the wheel at a certain speed, the speed of the wheel turning is going to present a, depending which way you turn it. If you turn it counterclockwise, I believe you're putting the pressure inward to the center, and then if you spin it clockwise, that it's an outwardly. And I'd have to look at my notes, and I may be backwards, but it's one or the other where you create a pressure on the inside or outwardly. And that's something I need to think about in itself, because I want the wheel to be able to create its own thrust in its own magnet metal self, to be able to have the wheel just move on its own based on its pulling itself to the metal of the pipe. Okay, it's not. This is not magic. This is just a way of creating a pulse, like to our heart. You got to have a beat, right? So this is the pulse of the beat, and we have to create that beat. So we have to think about, okay, well, it takes energy. All right, so the magnets are the energy. They are a closed loop circuit. They are also a dipole. The dipole is the north and south. That's the ends here. And with having that said, we have a couple of these PMHs. This is 22 gauge wire, 1500 turns. And we'll get into the resistance. We'll have two of those. So we're taking that energy, that high voltage coming out of the PMH, one on each side. And as the wheel makes and breaks, it's filling the iron inside the PMH, this iron, with magnets, right? And then it's going to release, when the magnet passes, it's going to release, charge and release, okay? And then these would be wired in a special way to where they're pushing the voltage out. One to be positive, one to be negative. And with that being said, there's your voltage, okay? So we can do a couple things with that voltage. We could go back to what Ed says, what you have to do. And where did I put that piece of paper? But he says you have to concentrate, divide. You know, he says you have to, magnetic currents are made by concentrating, then dividing, then shifting the existing north and south pole individual magnets from one place to another. So we need to shift them out of here. They're already here, and I'm going to call them dilated, in the sense to where it's sense of static. It's just, there's movement, but also it's just doing what it does. So you want to take that, pull from it, and allow it to recharge itself, basically from thin air, we'll call it. And that's where the PMH will take and create voltage. That voltage will go ahead and take what the dipole here presents is a closed loop circuit. So it being a closed loop circuit, it's only working on its own self. So I'm going to build another circuit that's going to be including not this pipe, but these other pipes. And these other pipes will have some unique and cool attributes about it. And it will be based on some thermodynamics, as well as acoustics and resonant chamber because of the pipe itself, the ground being the shunt, and the the ring that we put on here, there'll be a ring that's similar to the top here, but there'll be another ring that we can slide. And as we slide the ring, we'll be able to find resonance in the pipe, a center core iron, a coil wrapped around a dielectric, put down the pipe. All right, you guys, peace out, man. Leave your comments. It's early yet. Plugging away. We'll get into this. Right now I'm gonna work on taking this piece here, figuring out if there's a north and south in any direction that's already picking. If not, if it's just open territory, and then I will begin to use the bolts, and I will put them in a manner like Ed's, to where they go down to where the concrete stops, which would be the end of the flywheel, but it'll be touching the side that I want it to be, and it'll protrude out a positive or a negative, and we'll have positive and negative going across from each other, and we'll also have a positive and negative going across each other, making the sign of a cross, pretty much so we're catching straight angles across the center here of north, south, east, west. We'll get into that, why that's important, but I've been showing little tidbits around with you guys in different videos on how that it matters with everything we're doing, which the direction. So I want to bring that to you guys' attention. You guys, happy holidays.